most significant allegations in Baldoni's lawsuit is that Lively sought to gain control over the editing process of the film. This is here, right? So Baldoni says this was all an effort to hijack the film to get her way. Lively claims she was the victim of harassment in a hostile work environment. Not surprising.
The whispers began, as they always do in Hollywood, hushed, speculative, and tinged with disbelief. Blake Lively and Taylor Swift, once the epitome of celebrity camaraderie, found their decade-long friendship unraveling in the glare of a legal battle so convoluted and explosive that even the most seasoned industry insiders could barely keep up. What began as a lawsuit over allegations of harassment and defamation between Blake Lively and her former It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni has now spiraled into something far more intricate, a web of betrayal and manipulation that has dragged Taylor Swift, one of the most powerful women in entertainment, into the fray. And as the details emerge, they paint a picture of power plays, fractured alliances, and reputations left hanging by a thread.
Has denied all of these allegations. They have responded to this filing, this lawsuit, saying,
The first tremor in the saga came in December 2024, when Blake Lively filed a formal complaint against Justin Baldoni accusing him of harassment and retaliation during and after the production of their film. Baldoni, who directed and co-starred in the adaptation of Colleen Hoover's bestseller, immediately hit back with a staggering $400 million defamation countersuit, alleging that Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, had orchestrated a campaign to destroy his career. The battle lines were drawn and the fallout was swift, with headlines chronicling every accusation, every motion filed, and every pointed statement from lawyers. But the case took a darker turn when Taylor Swift's name appeared in Baldoni's countersuit, drawing the Grammy-winning artist into a conflict she seemingly had no part in. Swift's involvement was first hinted at in court filings that referenced a pivotal meeting at Blake Lively's Manhattan penthouse. According to Baldoni, the gathering was meant to address script revisions for It Ends With Us, but it was what allegedly transpired during that meeting and the private text messages that followed that pulled Swift into the scandal. Baldoni claimed Lively had used her friendship with Swift as leverage, referring to the singer and Ryan Reynolds as her dragons, a term she borrowed from Game of Thrones to describe her protectors in Hollywood. The allegations didn't stop there. Baldoni's legal team suggested that Lively had threatened to leak private exchanges with Swift unless the singer publicly supported her in the lawsuit. The accusation, though vehemently denied by Lively's camp, was enough to fracture a friendship that once seemed unshakable.
And that also, they say, includes us responding in the public to the montage dancing video that we put out. Why? Because, quote, the Lively Party's counsel publicly described the contents of video footage relating to Ms. Lively's allegations as damning. Their statement continued, any woman who's been inappropriately touched in the workplace will recognize.
Behind the scenes, the tension between Swift and Lively had been simmering for months. The two women, who had been friends since 2015, were known for their closeness. Swift was even the godmother to Lively's children. But sources close to the situation revealed that their relationship had begun to strain under the weight of Lively's legal troubles. Swift, ever wary of her public image, reportedly felt blindsided when her name was dragged into the lawsuit. By May 2025, Baldoni's legal team had subpoenaed Swift, forcing her to respond to allegations that she had attended the penthouse meeting and was privy to confidential discussions about the case. The subpoena was a bold move, but it backfired. Scott Swift intervened.
Most of his career, he has been a major proponent of feminism, of healthy masculinity. How does it feel for him, though?
Scott Swift, a former investment banker with a reputation for his behind-the-scenes influence in his daughter's career, reportedly provided Baldoni's team with evidence that undermined their claims. The details of what Scott shared remain sealed, but it was enough for Baldoni's lawyers to withdraw the subpoena within days. A representative for Swift later issued a scathing statement denying any involvement in the case and making it clear that Taylor had never set foot on the set of It Ends With Us, nor participated in any creative decisions related to the film. Taylor Swift never saw a script, never attended a meeting, and was entirely uninvolved, the statement read. Any suggestion otherwise is categorically false. The withdrawal of the subpoena should have been the end of it, but the damage was already done. For Swift, the subpoena and subsequent allegations marked a breaking point. Sources close to the singer described her as feeling betrayed and exploited by someone she had once considered a confidant. The fallout was swift and decisive. Taylor reportedly cut all ties with Lively, ignoring texts, calls, and even emails from the actress. Taylor hasn't responded to any of Blake's pleas, an insider revealed. He feels deeply hurt by how this situation has unfolded. It's not just about the case, it's about trust, and for Taylor, that trust is broken. The split extended beyond the two women, with Swift's boyfriend, NFL star Travis Kelce, unfollowing Ryan Reynolds on social media in what many interpreted as a public show of solidarity.
I will say, it is also interesting that the defendants in this answer also admit that they sent text messages. I mean, when Lively produced copies of these text messages that she got through a subpoena, there's really nowhere else to go on that. You got to admit that you sent these, but it doesn't mean that Baldoni and the other defendants will agree to the context or the characterization that was laid out by Blake Lively. For instance,
Blake Lively, for her part, has tried to mend the rift. Sources close to the actress described her as desperate to regain Swift's trust, sending numerous messages in an attempt to explain her side of the story, but her efforts have been met with silence. Meanwhile, Lively's legal team continues to deny any wrongdoing, dismissing the accusations as a ploy by Baldoni's lawyers to deflect attention from the core issues of the case. In a statement, Lively's attorneys called the allegations irrelevant and inflammatory, accusing Baldoni's team of exploiting Swift's name for publicity. "This is a distraction, nothing more," the statement read. M's Lively remains focused on seeking justice for the harassment and retaliation she endured. As the legal battle rages on, the public fallout between Swift and Lively has become a story in its own right. The media has latched onto every development, from the alleged text messages to the whispered rumors of ulterior motives. The narrative is as much about the personal as it is about the professional, a cautionary tale of how quickly alliances can shift in the high-stakes world of Hollywood. And while the lawsuit between Lively and Baldoni is set to go to trial in March 2026, the fractures it has caused in their respective circles may take far longer to heal. What remains unclear is the full extent of the damage. For Lively, the stakes are higher than ever. Her lawsuit against Baldoni is not just a legal fight, it's a battle for her reputation, her career, and her place in an industry that is notoriously unforgiving. For Swift, the situation is a stark reminder of the risks of proximity to controversy, even when one is an innocent bystander. And for the public, it's a front row seat to a drama that feels almost Shakespearean in its twists and turns. In the end, this is more than a feud, it's a reckoning, one that has left no one unscathed.
Thomas, first and foremost, I should tell you that I have a major scoop regarding Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, their newest legal plan, or something that they were attempting.
But as the shockwaves of the feud between Taylor Swift and Blake Lively settle into the public consciousness, the focus has shifted to the courtroom, where the legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni is not just a spectacle, but a defining moment for the entertainment industry. With accusations flying and countersuits piling up, the legal strategies at play reveal a deeper, far more complex story, a story that could reshape the future of Hollywood's power dynamics and its public perception. What began as a deeply personal dispute has now escalated into a high-stakes legal chess match, with implications that extend far beyond the individuals involved. At the heart of this sprawling legal saga lies a set of claims that have sparked heated arguments from both sides. Blake Lively's lawsuit against Baldoni accuses him of harassment and retaliation, painting a picture of a toxic working environment during the production of It Ends With Us. Baldoni, on the other hand, has countersued for defamation and extortion, claiming that Lively, alongside her husband Ryan Reynolds, attempted to dismantle his career through Both lawsuits are laden with explosive allegations, but it's the legal maneuvers behind the scenes that have caught the industry's attention. Baldoni's team, led by high-profile attorneys, has adopted an aggressive approach, filing motions to compel Lively to release her medical and therapy records as evidence to counter her claims of emotional distress. Such tactics, while not uncommon in cases of this nature, have sparked intense debate about privacy and the ethics of exposing someone's most intimate experiences in the name of legal strategy.
She also provided a cease and desist letter, asking them to cease, quote, all unlawful conduct, namely what they alleged is the, quote, harassing and retaliatory media and online campaign against Miss Lively.
Yet Lively's team isn't backing down. In fact, they've turned Baldoni's tactics against him, accusing his legal team of abusing the court's processes for publicity. This is a press stunt, Lively's lawyers declared in one of their filings, claiming that Baldoni's motions were designed to sway public opinion, rather than address the core issues of the lawsuit. Their strategy has been to streamline Lively's case, focusing on claims they believe are most likely to succeed, while dropping others to avoid unnecessary exposure. It's a calculated move, but one that has left critics questioning whether Lively's decision to withdraw certain claims, such as her allegations of emotional distress, signals a lack of confidence in her case, or a tactical retreat to protect her privacy. And the stakes couldn't be higher. Baldoni's countersuit not only demands hundreds of millions in damages, but also seeks to dismantle Lively's narrative piece by piece. His legal team has argued that Lively's refusal to release her medical records undermines her credibility, suggesting that her claims of emotional harm cannot be substantiated without this evidence. Instead of complying with the requests, Ms. Lively has chosen to withdraw her claims, Baldoni's lawyers stated in court documents, framing her decision as a strategic evasion. But Lively's team has countered that such demands are invasive and unnecessary, arguing that her remaining claims, particularly those involving harassment and retaliation, stand on their own merit without the need for additional disclosures.
Regarding this Blake, Ryan, Justin case, that things may have just transformed from civil to criminal, and I'll tell you why. And like I said, in case you somehow missed the updates over the weekend, don't worry, sit down, because this is going to...
But the fight over credibility doesn't stop at medical records. Behind closed doors, there are whispers of a deeper power struggle between Hollywood's old guard and the rising stars of a younger, more socially conscious generation. Baldoni, who built his reputation on feel-good projects and family-friendly productions, has positioned himself as a champion of progressive storytelling. Yet critics argue that his countersuit against Lively reveals cracks in that carefully curated image. To some, this isn't just about defending his reputation. It's about holding on to a power base that's increasingly threatened by cultural change. Lively's team has been quick to frame the lawsuit as emblematic of a broader reckoning in entertainment, where women who speak out are met with aggressive counters that aim to silence them. The stakes, they argue, are bigger than one individual's claims. They reflect a systemic pattern of pushing back against those who challenge the status quo. Adding to the complexity is the sheer number of lawsuits tangled up in this case. Not only are Lively and Baldoni battling each other, but their respective legal teams are also navigating a labyrinth of interconnected claims involving Ryan Reynolds, major entertainment corporations, and even media outlets. Baldoni's defamation countersuit alleges that Lively and Reynolds worked with publicists and journalists to intentionally tarnish his name, citing a New York Times article that painted him as the mastermind of a smear campaign. On the flip side, Lively's team contends that Baldoni's countersuit exemplifies Hollywood's playbook for intimidating accusers into silence. The sheer weight of these competing narratives has turned the case into a legal marathon, with both sides scrambling to control not only the courtroom, but also the court of public opinion.
But without question, this is the most explosive update since it all began. It's the final piece of the puzzle. It pulls everybody in, the New York Times, the PR firms. Brian Friedman must be having an absolute field day. And by the way, I want to say this could have all been avoided if they had listened to me when I told them drop the...
It doesn't help that the timing of the trial coincides with other high-profile cases in Hollywood, creating an atmosphere of heightened scrutiny across the industry. In the same New York courthouse, another case involving allegations of misconduct by a prominent figure is running parallel, further amplifying the media circus surrounding Lively and Baldoni. The optics of these overlapping trials are impossible to ignore. Two cases that highlight the entertainment industry's ongoing struggle to reconcile its glamorous image with the harsh realities of its internal culture. For Hollywood insiders, the overlap has sparked speculation about how these cases might influence one another, particularly in terms of public perception and the precedent they could set for future legal battles. The legal battle has also drawn in a host of powerful players, from advocacy groups to high-profile Hollywood figures, each with their own stakes in the case. Organizations focused on workplace protections and harassment have rallied behind Lively, framing her lawsuit as part of a larger movement to hold powerful men accountable in an industry long plagued by abuses of power. On the other side, Baldoni's camp has framed his countersuit as a defense of his reputation against what they describe as a coordinated attack. The clash has turned into a proxy war for larger cultural battles, with both sides claiming the moral high ground.
Now, the million-dollar question for all of us that were looking at this was, what subpoena was Stephanie Jones complying with? There was no lawsuit. This went down in August, right? There was no lawsuit until December. What subpoena was she?
And then there's the question of what this means for the entertainment industry as a whole. Cases like this one are rare in their scale and visibility, but they are emblematic of broader issues that have long simmered beneath the surface. The allegations of harassment, retaliation, and defamation echo countless other stories that have emerged in recent years, as Hollywood grapples with its legacy of systemic inequality and abuse. But this case is unique in its intertwining of personal relationships, public narratives, and legal strategy. It's not just about what happened on the set of It Ends With Us. It's about the ways in which power is wielded, contested, and ultimately exposed in an industry that thrives on image and influence. As the trial date looms, both sides are digging in for what promises to be a brutal and highly publicized showdown. The court proceedings, scheduled to begin in March 2026, will likely be one of the most closely watched legal battles in recent memory, with its outcome carrying significant implications not just for Lively and Baldoni, but for the broader culture of accountability in Hollywood. The stakes for Lively are monumental. Her career, her reputation, and her credibility as an advocate for change are all on the line. For Baldoni, the trial represents a chance to salvage his reputation and rebuild a career that has been all but destroyed by the allegations against him.
They're trying to work backwards to legitimize something that they likely stole. So I'm going to read you directly from this sham lawsuit. It writes, it accuses the 10 Jane Does of, quote, they have participated and may continue to participate in efforts to harm plaintiff, including by failing to act in plaintiff's best interests, taking actions to their personal benefit at plaintiffs.
But even as the legal teams prepare their cases, the court of public opinion continues to render its own verdicts. The media frenzy surrounding the case has been relentless, with every new filing dissected and debated across headlines and social media platforms. The involvement of Taylor Swift, though tangential to the core legal issues, has only amplified the spectacle, drawing in an audience far beyond those typically invested in Hollywood legal dramas. And while Swift has made it clear that she wants no part in the proceedings, her name remains a potent symbol in the narrative, a reminder of the personal stakes and the collateral damage that come with battles of this magnitude. So where does this leave us? The case of Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni is far from over, and its outcome remains uncertain. Will Lively's claims hold up under scrutiny, or will Baldoni's countersuit expose weaknesses in her narrative? Can Baldoni reclaim his reputation, or has the damage already been done? And what of the broader implications for Hollywood? Will this case set a precedent for how similar disputes are handled in the future, or will it be remembered as just another sensational headline in an industry that thrives on scandal?
Blake Lively. So there's a connection here between all of the players that we have seen involved and this sham lawsuit. These are just the facts, okay? Case closed, my friend.
One thing is clear, this story is far from finished. As the trial approaches, the stakes will only continue to rise and the revelations are sure to keep coming. For now, all we can do is watch and wait, knowing that the drama playing out in the courtroom is only one part of a much larger, more complicated tale. And as always, we want to hear from you. What do you think about the twists and turns of this case? Do you believe Blake Lively's claims, or do you side with Justin Baldoni? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for updates as this story develops. Because in Hollywood, the truth is never as simple as it seems.